Welcome to episode Nunchaku of our ComfyUI tutorial series. Today I will show you how to generate with Flux and Flux Kontext really fast using Nunchaku. As you can see here in this real-time generation, it takes around 7 seconds to generate an image on my video card. Now, because the installation is tricky if the steps are not done in the right order, I talked with Evo to create an easy installer. So in this video, I will show you how to install it easily. You just run the installer and download some models. But very important, it only works with an NVIDIA RTX card and with Windows. So if you do not have those, then this video is not for you. If you meet those requirements, you can continue with the video and we will install a fresh ComfyUI with Nunchaku in a different folder. So if you cannot make it work, you just delete the folder and that is all. You did not mess up your existing installation. If you used this easy installer before, then this one is similar, but it is on a different branch. You probably used the Windows default one, and now you have this Nunchaku branch here. I will put the direct link to this version in the video description. This version is portable. It will automatically install Git, ComfyUI, embedded Python, and all the nodes I used in the last 50 episodes. Here is how to install it. You should not install it in a system folder like program files or directly on the C drive. Use a different available drive, as you will see in a minute. This installation will not affect your existing ComfyUI. I will also give you some tips on how to save some settings from your current ComfyUI. You can also use the models from your existing ComfyUI if you already have it. Enough talking, let's move to action. Download the installer from here. I will just save it to my D drive. As you can see, it is quite small. Now we need to extract the content of the archive. I will extract it here, and now I have this folder. Let's open it. We have some bat files here. You need to run the one that starts with ComfyUI. Just double click on it and the installation will start. First, it will install or update Git, and you will need to click on a button when it asks you to accept. That is all. You just let it run for a few minutes. I will speed up the video and you wait until you see this message. On this computer, it took 6 minutes to install, but it depends on your internet speed and your computer. On an older computer, it took 10 minutes. So just wait for the installation to complete, and then you can press any key to close that window. Now, the ComfyUI is installed in this folder. You can rename it or even move it to a different drive since it is portable. Inside, we have the files you're already used to by now. We run ComfyUI using this run NVIDIA GPU bat file. You can create a shortcut for it and add it to your desktop for easy access. But if you already have another version of ComfyUI, you can do this extra step. Right-click on Extra Models Paths Maker and copy that file. Then go to your older ComfyUI version, navigate to your models folder, and paste that file there. Now, if we double-click on this file, it will run and create a new extra file for us that looks like this. This will take the paths for all the models from your ComfyUI folder, so it can use them in the new ComfyUI without having to duplicate all the models. All should work except for some LLM models that need to be copied manually. So now we copy this extra file that was created for us and go to the new ComfyUI, navigate to the ComfyUI folder where there is an example for the model path and paste your file there. Now everything is set and Comfy should know to load the models from the old ComfyUI. Now we can navigate to our new ComfyUI and run it. If I pause the video, you can see it is adding extra search paths, so no matter where the models are, in the old ComfyUI or the new one, it will detect them. You can see more information here about this installation, and here is the new ComfyUI version. You will get this little green dino here that you can use to clean VRAM or save workflows as PNG. But if you want to disable it, you can go to Settings, then click on this K tool. From here, where it says Gululu, you can turn it off and it will disappear. Since it has all the nodes I used so far and the models are picked from the old installation, I should be able to run a workflow that worked on the older ComfyUI. If I look in the models folder, you can see there are no models here since all are picked up from the older ComfyUI. But if you do not have an older ComfyUI, don't worry, you do not need it. You can just download the new models using my instructions. If I test really quick with a workflow from episode 50, you can see it works just fine and we can generate. But let me show you how to speed it up using Nunchaku now that we have it installed. If you go to Workflows and click on Open Existing Workflows, I created 2 folders with workflows for both Flux and Flux Kontext. Let's start with Flux Dev. I have a lot of them optimized for social media, depending on the ratio you want to generate. Let's say I open a square text to image workflow. Now here's what you need to run this workflow. You need the ComfyUI version with Nunchaku that I showed at the beginning of this video, how to install it. Then we need some optimized Flux models. You can see that instead of the load diffusion model node, we now have special versions made for Nunchaku. There's a loader and a text encoder loader. Just download the Flux model from here and place it into the diffusion models folder. You can find more info about it here. There are 2 versions. I put the direct link inside the workflow to the one I use because I have an RTX 40 series, and it also works on 30 and 20 series depending on video memory. If you have a 50 series card, then you need the FP4 version instead. Back to the workflow. Let's download the model. Since it is made for Nunchaku, I will place it in the new ComfyUI version we installed. I will go to the models folder. You can see the path here. And inside the diffusion models folder, we save the model. Next, we need the models for the text encoder loader. Clip L is the one we used with Flux, so you should already have it. If not, download it. For the second text encoder, use a T5 model. If you have this one, it should work fine with both older and newer video cards. I have a newer card, so I use the Nunchaku version because it is smaller and seems to run a bit faster. So save the clip L model in the clip folder and also save the T5 model in the same clip folder. As you can see, I have it here. You also need the VAE, which is the same VAE we use with Flux. Download it to the VAE folder if you do not have it. Then you need this upscaler model if you plan to upscale your images. Place it in the upscale models folder. Once all the models finish downloading, you can go to Edit and click on Refresh Node Definition. That is all. Now we can run the workflow to see if we get any errors. The first generation is a little slower because it loads the models. But if I change the seed, which is fixed, I can generate again, and this time it should be faster. If we toggle the bottom panel, you can see it took 10 seconds for the second generation. If I change the seed again and reduce the number of steps, since sometimes you can get away with 20 steps, you can get even faster speed, around 7 seconds for an image, which is really cool. It might be a second faster without the clean VRAM node, but I use it when I do a lot of generation, so the memory stays clean. Let's talk about some errors you might get. On my older PC with an RTX 2060 video card, I got this error that says this kernel is not supported on your GPU. The fix for this is to change the text encoder from the Nunchaku version to the T5 FP8 scaled version. That one seems to be supported on that older card. Another error I got on the older PC was this value is not in the list. The solution for this was to change the data type, since my older card does not seem to have that value available. So I changed it to float 16 and it worked. I was able to generate on my old video card with Flux in 36 seconds, which is way faster than before when it took minutes. So now that everything works okay, we can focus on generation until we get something we like. Then we can use this button to enable or disable the upscaler, and I can run the workflow. Because the seed is fixed, it will only do the upscale part. We got double the size for that image with more details depending on the denoise setting. It looks pretty good, and the cool part is that it is way faster. It took under 30 seconds to upscale it. You can probably do it even faster. I used 20 steps here, but you can reduce it to 10 sometimes. There is not much difference in quality, but it runs faster. If I test it, you can see it still looks pretty good with fewer steps. And if we look at the speed, it is 17 seconds, which is pretty great for an upscale. So play around with the settings. Depending on what you need, you can generate a few upscaled versions to find one that works just great for you. The Flux workflows are the same as the ones from episode 50. The only difference is that they have the extra nodes and models needed for the Nunchaku version, but the functionality is the same. So check that episode to see all the workflow versions I made for Flux. If I open a workflow from that episode, or if you have your own custom workflows that you want to adapt for the Nunchaku version, here's how you can do that. Usually, Flux has two loaders, one for the Flux model and one for the clip models. We need to replace those with the Nunchaku versions. So first, we need this loader node. Then, instead of the UNet loader, or maybe you have a diffusion model loader, you will see it is connected to tiled diffusion in the upscaler and to the K sampler node. We need to connect the new loader node to K sampler and also drag a connection to tiled diffusion in the upscaler group. Then select the old node and delete it. Make sure the Flux model is selected here, like the one we downloaded. I use this one for example. You can leave everything else the same if you want, and it should still work even with the existing dual clip loader used with Flux. Let me test it really quick, and it worked just fine. But since I wanted everything to be more optimized, I added this Nunchaku text encoder loader. Here we select the clip L model. It can also be one of the T5 clips, but I use this optimized version. Now delete the old node and connect this one to the positive prompt and the negative prompt. Let's test it. You can see how it was before and now after. It is not a big difference, but there is a subtle improvement. That is how you transform your existing Flux workflow to work with Nunchaku. But enough with Flux, let's switch to the Flux Kontext versions. As you can see, there are a few folders with workflows here as well. You can also generate images with it, not just do editing, just like we do with Flux Dev. So what is different from Flux Dev in the settings? We need the Flux Kontext model instead of the Flux Dev model. As you can see, it is different. Again, use the FP4 version if you have an RTX 50 series, and use this other version for all other cards. The rest of the models are the same as I showed earlier for the Flux model. I did not include in the node setup what nodes you need because I assume you use this installer and that already installs all the nodes you need. You can see the full list of nodes is already installed. Let's run the workflow, and we got a cute bunny. If I change the seed and run it again, look here, this is the actual generation speed. No speed up in the video editing. I love it when it runs this fast, and we are almost done. We have our generation in under 8 seconds, which is great. Let's open a different workflow. You can download all of these from Discord for free, and I will include the input images and results so you can test them. For example, this image editing workflow is in JSON format, and with the same name, you should find the input and the result. This way, you can use the same input as me, and you should get the same result. Using this button, I loaded the input image. I used a prompt to change the color of the bunny to pastel color. When I run it, I get this pink bunny instead. I also added the name of the workflow in the title so you can find it easily. Let's test another workflow. I will skip some of them so I do not repeat myself. I already showed some of these in episode 52, so you can check that for more details. Today, I will just show the ones that are different or new. So I have this woman photo that I loaded here, and this man photo, I used the prompt to place the woman and the man together in the same scene. Let's test it. Look, they are now together in the same scene. Pretty cool. Here's how you can change the art style of an image. I loaded this mask image here, and then for the instruction, I asked it to change only the color and rendering style. I used ChatGPT to get ideas. You can give ChatGPT a style image and ask it to give you a prompt for that art style and colors. Then you can use that prompt with Flux Kontext. Let's test it. And the result is this one. It came out pretty well, how it changed into a watercolor painting in the color I asked. Not bad at all. If you want more control and want to get a certain style, you need a LoRa for that art style. Maybe the model was not trained on the style you want. So either find a LoRa or train one yourself. For example, I have this anime girl here, and I want to convert it to a realistic art style. When I run it, I get something like this, which is really nice. It can convert all kinds of images and illustrations into a realistic art style, game characters, cartoon illustrations, or drawings, so it is worth a try. You can get the LoRa from the Civit AI website, but you need to be logged in. Also, you need this specific node because the Power LoRa loader will not work as it should in this case. So click here, make sure you are logged in, click on the blue download button, and save it to the LoRa's folder. I just noticed I put a different folder here. Let me correct it really quick. You need to put that LoRa in the LoRa's folder. Then go to the Edit menu and refresh the node definition. Now you can select the LoRa from there. You can search it by name and select it. If you want to use two LoRa's, just add another node and redo the connection to go through that node as well. Also connect it to the upscaler group and to the K sampler node. Then select the second LoRa and make sure to use all the trigger words in the prompt. The power LoRa loader did not work as I wanted in this case. It did not keep the style consistent, so use the Nunchaku version instead. Here's another interesting art style LoRa called etching. You can click here to go to the download page on Civit AI. Just download it and place it in the LoRa's folder like before. If I test it, I get something like this. It is quite an interesting style. It can work well for label design and all kinds of illustrations, and it would be very time-consuming to do it by hand. Here is another one that makes everything fluffy. I am using this LoRa. As you can see, it says the type is LoRa. The base model is Flux Kontext, which is what we need, the recommended strength of the LoRa, and the trigger words that you need to add to the prompts, and the result looks like this one, fluffy perfume bottle. You can use this branding logo workflow for different projects. For example, I uploaded my logo, simple black on white background, and I made a prompt with ChatGPT that describes what I want. And look at that, a custom product photo with my logo. It even let me add custom text under the logo. So try it and see how it works for you. It depends on the image quality and complexity. It is not perfect every time, but now that you can generate so fast, you can easily try different seeds. This is a workflow for product placement, but it works better with simple products. If you have something more complex with labels and small text, it will not work properly. I am still trying to make a stable workflow for that, but the models are not precise enough yet. You saw in episode 52 this workflow where you can change the hair color. It is a little bit trickier with some colors. For example, green might be too bright for hair and so on. So you need to play around a bit with the prompt. The face is quite similar, but again, Flux Kontext has a tendency to move the image up a little or squeeze it. Might be a bug from training. It is good for character consistency, even if it is not always perfect. Sometimes it gets the proportions wrong, like making the head too big, but it is still quite useful. For example, I got this nice image just like I asked, and the face is somehow similar. I also tried a workflow for a character and an object. I have this woman image, and then I loaded a purse image. I prompted that the woman is holding the purse in her right hand. You just try different seeds until you get something that works. Since it does not always get it right, this one is okay. Let's try a different seed to see how it looks. Now it is in the other hand, even though I specified the right hand in the prompt, and it also changed the color of the dress a bit. If I try with the perfume bottle and adapt the prompt so she holds the perfume, I get something like this, like a huge bottle. If I try a different seed, the size is better, but the cap is longer than my original product. So when you need something perfect, maybe use this to get the pose and expression, and then use Photoshop to place your product in the same position. Here is my favorite workflow to run with Flux Kontext. On the Upload Image node, you right-click and open it in the Mask editor. Let me clear it really quick. You just make a mask where you want to add an item or modify something. Click on Save. Then I prompted here to add a tiara on her head. And this is the result. It is the only way I found to keep the image intact and only change the portion I want. Everything stays identical except the part that I masked, where now I have that tiara. I also tried to do some clothes try-on workflows, but they do not always work how they should. Here is where I uploaded the image of the woman, and here I uploaded a green t-shirt image with a logo on it to see how consistent it keeps it. I used this prompt to change the clothes of the woman to a t-shirt. Now, depending on the clothes, sometimes it works and keeps the clothes the same, and sometimes it changes them to something different. For t-shirts, it works quite okay. That's why I named it T-shirt try-on workflow. There is another workflow that uses a LoRa from Civit AI. You can download the LoRa from here. If you read about it, it was only trained as a test with just 8 images of t-shirts and jackets. It cannot do dresses or other clothing types. So with the same woman and that LoRa, I got something similar. Maybe the colors were a little more accurate with the LoRa. I tried to add a bikini to see if it would work. I changed the prompt from t-shirt to bikini, and it kind of did something in a similar color, but the top part was not identical. I also tried with another image, and it completely ignored it. So I thought maybe those are not bikinis. Maybe it is called a one-piece swimsuit. Not sure exactly, but it seems the prompt needs to be more specific to understand. Now it kind of picked the color, but not the style. So it works best with t-shirts for now, until someone trains a better LoRa. If I change the prompt back to t-shirt and add this crop of the guy in the t-shirt, you can see it gave a pretty similar t-shirt to the girl, so that works better. Maybe an in-painting combined with a LoRa could work too. Maybe I'll try that in another video since I already spent 2 days on this one. Thank you to everyone who joined membership and supported this channel, whether with super thanks, membership, or even a simple like. All of that helps me keep making more tutorials for you. Special thanks to the legends, the higher tier supporters. Don't forget to get the workflows from Discord for free. Have a great day.